We're here today to talk about real estate.
Hello and welcome back to the Real Estate Unlimited podcast. My name is Steinmetz.
Bryan, Shuby.
I'm Kari, Steele.
Bill Jones.
And we're the Jones home team.
And this is episode 38. We got a lot of goodies here today. Sierra's going to dive into finding, need 20% down. And also, are you going to get, what was it? You had different programs, finding some good deals, down payment assistance, things like that. We got a fun website that was actually pretty cool to look at. Bryan and I guess, are both going to kind of tag team this. The market shift underway. What's pricing look like? And Kari's getting into, are they going to ban property taxes in Ohio? We could hope, right?
We'll
we could hope. We'll see what that looks like then. So, all right, Sierra, kick us off. What are we into?
Okay, today I just want to talk about down payments, your options, kind of the factor myth of 20% down. I feel like we've probably talked about it many times before.
Yeah, do you have to have 20%?
Yeah, you don't need 20%. It's not necessarily going to be something that works for everyone to have 20% of the purchase price of the home that they're wanting to be put down. And that's okay. I mean, for a lot of people, that's a very large chunk of change. And obviously 20% is going to be more preferable because you can avoid PMI, you have a lower monthly payment, all the things. But at the same time, like I said, it's just not always going to be realistic.
We kind of touched on that before. It would be a $200,000 house, need $40,000 down, and then closing costs and all the other things. So it's a lot.
Not to mention inspections, appraisals, all that kind of stuff. So
all the things.
Yeah, all the things. So FHA and USDA are probably the most common when it comes to not needing 20% down, but there's also 3% conventional, all kinds of things there. And then on top of that, if you can find a loan where you don't need 20% down, there's also a lot of down payment assistant programs. So I found this website, downpaymentresource.com.
Which is not, like we talked, it's not just Rocket Mortgage. Nothing against Rocket Mortgage trying to sell you their mortgages.
Yeah.
It's actually looks like a legit site.
Yeah, they're not shoving anything down your throat, not forcing you to buy anything or get pre-approved or anything like that. It just asks you some basic information about where you're buying, purchase price, how many people are in your home, income, stuff like that. And you don't even have to fill out all of that information, just some of it, so that they can make it more specific to where you're at.
So we kind of started. We just did, we're at right now, Tiffin, Ohio. Single family home, 175. Is that a good price point? I guess sure. Mm-hmm. One person in the house. No, I've never owned a home. I think we kind of stopped there.
Yeah.
There's all kind of other active duty. Sure. That added one more.
There you go. So yeah, it asks a lot of specifics, but again, you don't even have to fill all those specifics out. Some more of those are just to see if there are other programs that are more tailored to what you do for work or different things about your personal situation. And then it brings up a whole list of results that shows you different programs that have to do it. You do have to put in your email and stuff, but shows you a bunch of different programs that are, whether they're local, statewide, national, like just grant programs, stuff like that. One that I saw a lot was like the OFA grants and things like that can, even if it's just like splitting your down payment. I've had a couple people, they're 3% down and they get 2% of that covered by some kind of grant, whether it's a first-time homebuyer thing or whatever
like
it is.
First responders, education.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We'll see what shows up. Mr. Bob Wombat is going to, and I signed him up for the newsletter too, so sorry, Bob. Let's see what shows up.
I've known Mr. Wombat for a really long time.
Yes.
I think I've met him through you, right?
Right, yeah. He shows
sure
up a
he
lot.
lives at 123 Main Street.
Yes. Congratulations, 28 programs.
And then, so it does like push for pre-approval and stuff like that if that's what your next step is going to be. But, and like it even pulls up Welcome Home program, which obviously that's out now, but that comes around every single year that a lot of people don't know about. And then it's kind of like when you're looking at, when you have a kid going to college and they're looking for tuition assistance and stuff like that, there's so many different programs out there that you'd have no idea if you don't do some digging for. And so I think this is just a really good resource to see if whether you qualify or whatever that looks like, to kind of help
puts
you
it all
out.
in one place. That's really neat. Let's $50,000. Let's see what we need to do for that. Funds are billed first come, first served basis. So yeah, it looks like kind of a welcome home thing to where must run through $30,000, 5-year divert. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty nice, really. Or is that the Welcome Home? No, New York
was the-
Homebuyer
yeah,
Dream
that was the
Program. I don't know
second
what that is. So, yeah, so pretty cool. Pulls all that up.
So yeah, I mean, it just kind of gives a little bit of hope too for people that may not have a large sum of money to just put down on the house, when you've also got to worry about utilities and maintenance and all kinds of other things, closing costs, whatnot. Programs like that can really help with making that dream a reality of trying to actually purchase a home, because it can be pretty daunting, the whole process as it is, and then them asking you to bring $20,000 to the closing table, and that's just not going to be realistic for everyone. So.
Right, especially if you get that. I guess one thing that would not always necessarily bank on these things are awesome, but
Yeah.
none of them are guaranteed. It's a program you probably need to qualify for, meet certain criteria. And I've had them before too, even like with a Welcome Home, where they start down the process and for whatever reason the funds aren't available
Yeah.
Right.
at closing then for whatever reason. So yeah, that's, if you're 100% banking on that to make the house purchase happen, could be tough.
But then
Well,
again,
I think getting connected with a good lender can kind of work through a lot of those different
Right.
programs with you then as well, and determine which ones criteria you meet and which ones you don't then as well.
absolutely. I had a first-time home buyer who was 20 years old last year, I think 20 or 21. She got $20,000 in Welcome Home funds.
That's awesome.
Wow, that's
To help
awesome.
buy her first house. So
And that you can get gifts from your parents or your grandparents. You just have to do it the right way. I just had somebody just ask about that. Hey, my dad or somebody is going to give me money. And I'm like, well, contact your lender. Make sure that you go through the proper steps. So that way, you're
because
getting
they're
the
not
money.
going to like to just see a large deposit in your
Yeah,
account randomly.
And I don't know what that looks like. I'm not a lender, but check with your lender, especially if somebody's going to gift you money or you just got married, got a large lump sum, something like that. If you're planning on using that as a down payment, talk to your lender about what that looks like. Where should you put it? How should you move it, et cetera.
So with this, I was just playing with it here while we were talking. So yeah, if you move up the dependents, if you currently own a home or have owned a home, it knocked that down a bunch. So a lot of these seem to be focused on first-time home buyers or someone that hasn't owned a home in 3 to 5 years. Income level then too. So household income I put up to 250. That knocked it down quite a bit then too. So it seems like if you've owned a home or make a bunch of money, that's going to knock down your available programs.
As it should. I mean,
Sure,
because,
right.
once you get situated, you should have at least
Yeah,
knowledge
use
on
the equity in your home to
Yeah.
buy the next
Yeah.
one then. So, and it's harder and harder, just like the whole cliche thing, part to get the American dream, it's a little more out of reach for people to be able to buy a home just with, like Bryan and I are going to go to pricing. So that's really cool. I like that. And I love that it's not just shilling a particular,
Yeah.
nerd wallet or, rocket or whatever kind of doing that. So cool. All right. So Sierra guarantees that'll work for everybody,
No,
right? No,
I
okay.
did not say that.
All right, Bryan, you're getting into, is a market shift underway? And it's kind of funny you came up with this because I just met with clients last night, sellers, and I did a lot of digging on their home, which I'll show as part of that. But I threw it into Google and they came up with, I think I said, is the real estate market crashing? Because you go online and look at all these images that show up and it's just, oh my God, the world's coming to an end. It's like every year it's that. This year's
Yeah.
it. Next year's it's all over. So yeah, 50% drop or 50% increase. So, but Google said no. They're a little AI tool. Not that they know everything here, but it went away. So based on the information available in May 2025, the U.S. housing market is not currently crashing, but instead is undergoing a shift towards a more balanced and potentially more affordable environment. So
I like that.
yay.
That's good for everybody. I mean,
Right.
sellers are still making money, yet they're not going to get that extra 20 to 50 grand that they were seeing before in our area. But still being able to sell their house and find something else,
Right.
which has been the holdup for a lot of people is,
Which is still,
if I sell,
yeah.
where do I go?
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
but if we do get this balanced market.
Yeah, it'll help. So the reasons, probably the same thing. We beat this horse to death. Limited housing supply, to your point, Kari. Same thing. Strong home owner equity. So everybody's got a bunch of money into their home that owns a house, or not everybody, but a lot. Stricter lending standards. Again, not 2008 financial crisis again. Moderate price growth, gradual increase in inventory, and expected stabilization of mortgage rates. So, which again, nobody's got a crystal ball with that, but. All right, Shub, what do we got here?
Yeah, so this is just an article put out by the National Association of Realtors here. I think it was on maybe last week or early this week here. More listings, fewer closings as a market shift underway. So just a couple of points that I was able to pull out of the article then. So existing home sales declined by 0.5% in April compared to March then, so the previous month. And we're down 2% year over year, despite a significant increase in housing inventory. So this just indicates a cautious buyer sentiment amid higher prices and mortgage rates. So home sales have declined, even though there have been, I guess, more homes coming on the market then. So again, kind of like we just said, a more of a shift towards that neutral market then. First-time home buyers are re-entering the market, accounting for 34% of existing home sales in April, the highest share since July of 2020. So I think there for a while, prices were just so high that it was kicking a lot of those first-time home buyers out because people were, people who had homes to sell previously and used that equity to buy bigger homes were kind of beating out, maybe some of those offers then as well.
And all those dirty cash buyer people.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cash.
man,
Yeah.
that was crazy.
Yes.
And then the national median existing home price reached $414,000 in April, marking a 1.8% year-over-year increase. So home prices are still kind of continuing to go up there. While prices continue to rise, the pace has slowed, indicating a potential shift towards a more balanced market then. So home prices are still going up. However, the pace of which those are going up has slowed down a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So this little chart, 4 million. So month over month down 0.5, year over year down 2%.
Yep.
So in sales. And this is a question we get all the time. Is it still a seller's market? So yada, 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 everything's holding still, but they're saying that home sellers still continue to hold pricing power, but that could change. Inventory improving, but not out of the woods yet. So buyers could still expect competition, which seems to be on all, like we see that in the hot properties. There's some that are sitting, but some there's still a lot of people after it.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I think, is that on there? I don't see it there. Housing inventory has improved, raising 20.8% from a year ago. So the number of available homes has gone up 20.8% from last year at this time. So
And that's great, I think.
Yeah.
It stinks for the sellers that are maybe on another, 30 days or 60 days waiting for their home to sell. But like I just said, having some place for people to go.
But that's the thing that's crazy. You just go from those
Motivating the market.
scary headlines like, oh my God, it's up
Yeah.
20%. But it's like, okay, you went from
But you were down
no
150,
homes
yeah.
to like,
Yeah.
you can finally look at something.
Yeah. We had last year 8 total at this time in,
Right.
in
Yeah.
the whole town.
You've got a buyer and
3
you're
were under
waiting a
contract.
month and a half in between going to look at houses.
Yeah.
But then again, I think a lot of that is you still have, I know we've ran across this, Bill, and I'm sure you guys have as well, sellers who are still wanting to price their
Yes.
home 2 years for
Yes.
the number 2 years ago.
Yes.
And then that's causing their home to sit even longer. Hey, look,
Yeah.
I don't think you should
Right.
price it here. And then, they price it there, and all of a sudden we're just sitting here for months because they're not willing to drop it because, well, hey, this is what somebody, offered me a couple of years ago if I
Right.
wanted to sell. Well,
Yeah, you
unfortunately,
didn't sell
that's not the market
Yeah,
we're
you're
in.
late to the party. It sucks when
Yeah.
you see your 3 of your neighbors sold for they hit top of the market, and that's the price they have. Oh, my house was nicer than that, or this is a price it should be, and now
It was.
Yeah, it
Three-
was
3
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah, the time to sell was 2 years ago,
Yep.
so it's not today like that.
I feel like the best advice I have for sellers right now is because obviously, especially if you're representing a seller, you want to get them the most out of their house as you can. And we're still at that point where some houses are just hot properties and they just go quick and everyone wants them. And then other times buyers are getting picky on certain houses. So I feel like
Right.
if your seller can be flexible, if you can be very honest with them and say, this is where I'd put you at right now, but if you want to try it here, we can see what happens. If in 10 to 14 days we haven't gotten a lot of traction, then maybe let's drop it. And if they can agree to be on a price reduction type of situation, that they're not going to be shy of that if it doesn't work out, because obviously you don't want to price it too low and then lose them $10,000 or $15,000. But
Right.
again, you don't want it sitting and then people being like, oh, what's wrong with it,
Yep.
So I feel like just flexibility is the best thing right now, especially if you have one of those ones that might be in a great location but needs some work or something like that.
That
where-
as is thing is going to have to go away some too, because with the market straightening out, if there are more options out there, people aren't going to buy it just to buy it.
Yeah.
There's
they're
still
gonna
a lot of
want-
that. I'm not doing anything. I don't want to
Yeah.
do anything. And
Paint over
people
a
are
broken, busted window and say it's for sale as is.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the most important things is finding an agent that you can trust and that's honest with you. Because I know,
Yeah.
Bill, we ran into this recently where seller wanted to list it at one price, and we said, "Hey, this is where it needs to be." And
Yep.
he wound up listing it with somebody else, and the house has been on the market for I think just over 2 weeks now, and
I don't think they've had much traffic or anything.
much
on it
traffic
then,
either.
too.
So I think it's just, again, you need to find an agent that you're comfortable with and that you can trust, that you can, I guess, listen to their opinion and take that for, what it is, and not just overprice things because you think it's worth one thing when it's, the market.
Yeah, you're looking at the 2 year ago prices,
Yeah.
and I think to your point, Sierra, you just need to be honest with people then too. Like this is where the numbers have. I don't have a crystal ball, but this is where we're recommending price should be. But if an agent's gonna buy a listing, it's the word we use for that. Just tell whatever price you want. I don't care.
Yep.
But
I love we're in the market to get property sold, not have them sit on the market.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. The old cliche thing, are we gonna try to buy the house, or we're gonna buy the house, or we're gonna try to sell the house, or are we actually gonna sell the house? But again, to your point, not leaving money on the table, as much as you can too. You want to maximize their value, but yeah, you got to be honest with people. And
I mean, the market unfortunately just is not what it once was.
No.
So.
So I had this conversation last night with a seller. Dude, nice house that's getting a lot of traffic. It's just nothing has happened with it yet. So it's been on the market for less than a month. So big picture, and I'll show you those stats then too. It doesn't take long. The recent history has been it should have been sold by now. It's been gone already. But historically, it takes a lot longer for that stuff to move. So the feeling from a seller standpoint is that what's happening, what's wrong, what are we not doing?
Yeah, right. It's hard to be the
doing?
seller in that situation of you're not doing anything wrong. Things are just taking more time, and that's just the way it is right now.
So this is our market. I'm sure it's different for everybody's markets and things like that. To where the amount of eyes, this is just Zillow, like what kind of pulled up through there. So they're getting a lot of eyes on it, a lot of people clicking on it. In the last 30 days, it's trended down, but that's to be expected. It's not a new listing anymore, so that those numbers always kind of trend down from there. So still getting a lot of people to see it. Going to Realtor.com. Our job as an agent is to put it out there. So we market it as well. We can make it look as nice, describe it as well, present it well to the clients, to the general public, to other agents. So people are seeing it. They're getting foot traffic, but it's just not necessarily selling. So it goes back to one of those couple reasons. The condition, location, price always kind of plays into it, but I don't know. But yeah, is the market shifting, Shub? I mean, that's kind of what we're looking at. I mean, I don't know. It just seems to be things have definitely softened up. That's the way I feel anyways.
Yeah, I mean, personally, just as far as the business side goes, that's what I feel like as well. I mean, buyers are more particular in what they're looking for. They're like what you said, Kari, they're not just going to jump on the first thing that pops up that fits their needs. They're willing to, wait and get the right place.
So yeah, here, so according to Realtor.com, this is in our little old Tiffin, Ohio area. So, median days on market's up, a day, which isn't much from a year ago. Median price is down, $12,000. Total number of price reductions up 31%. So that's pretty significant.
Yeah.
That's showing you that people are going to have to make some adjustments.
Because I think a lot of that is, like we just said, that if a seller's overpricing their home, that's going to cause their house to sit on the market, which is going to cause the increase in days on market. So
more days on market, less. You're not going to get your list of price sales thing. And then, so home with price reductions, 27% up 10% from a year ago. So only 17% had to drop their price a year ago. So that's pretty significant. I'm going to dive into this here then too. So I went back 5 years. I don't know if you guys can see this chart here very well. So sales price on average. So you go back 5 years ago, average sales price $158,000, January 2020. As to today, $223,000 as of April 2020. So in 5 years difference, we've gone up, $158,000 to $70,000 on average. Number of homes for sale. Again, 5 years has gone way down. So this is the entire Northwest Ohio MLS. So January 2020, there was over 3,000. Today, there's only 2,000. So even with that recent 20% increase, we're still thousands of homes, or 1,000 homes down from there. So we could increase another full 50, 60% and still barely get back to what it was in January 2020. Pending sales, same thing, has gone significantly down. So inventory, the way I'm looking at this, inventory is still terrible. Number of homes going under contract is down. Number of home sales is down. Again, you go back to like the kind of COVID hype after that, couple of years after that, 21, 22 into 23, even it started to dip down. So we're down significantly. Days on market, again, seem down. Our area is definitely up, but to the entire Northwest Ohio market, it's gone down. So you kind of started that whole COVID, this I think was the height of COVID. Then it was almost 3 months on market to down quite a bit. So we'll go back 10 years and it looks even worse. So sales price. So if you're waiting to buy a house, waiting for them prices to come down, waiting for the interest rates to come down. So you go back 10 years, average price was 119 to our 229. Number of homes for sale, same thing. It just continued to go down. So pricing has gone up. Number of homes available gone down. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right answer is. Again, same thing. Month supply could increase substantially and still be nothing like it was 10 years ago,
Yeah.
which wasn't that long ago. I mean, you probably weren't even driving then yet, Sierra, were you? So
I do feel like, too, within the next 10 years or so, we might see more of an increase in inventory, because I feel like a huge thing right now is that so many people bought when the interest rates were 2-3%. So obviously they don't want to move, because then they're going to have to get rolled into a new interest rate. But those same people eventually are going to outgrow those homes more than likely. Not everyone, but a good chunk of them, they're going to outgrow them, or they're going to need to downsize, or they're going to need to do this, that, or the other. So, I mean, obviously right now they're going to want to stick with what they've got. I would too. But I think there's definitely a possibility in the coming years of it, hopefully, kind of that inventory coming back up, because, I mean, most people move at a certain point.
Yeah, we're like the 10-year mark from that.
Yeah.
Like 2015 to now.
Yeah, price per square foot. Shuby, you wish you could have built a house for $66 a square foot.
Yes.
But even now, again, this is entire MLS, $130 a square foot on average. But 130 versus 10 years ago was 66. So that's more than doubled.
Yeah.
Which is wild. So, yeah, if you're going to wait for the interest rates to drop 0.25 and it takes you another 5-10 years, and you're going to pay probably double for your house again. So, but no one's got a crystal ball. I don't know. We're just looking at the numbers, and how does that affect you as a home seller? You know, your particular house. I think real estate's still the whole cliche. It's local. It depends on what your house is and what your market is. But overall, I don't know. I think we could still see a lot more scary headlines where inventory's gone up considerably, and we're still nowhere close to, like we were talking earlier. I think it's still good. You know, if it's great to be able to go, hey, I'm going to buy a house. Let's go look at 10 houses in your price point, not like, here's one.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
Right.
No, I guess we wait
5
6
years
months
later.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's we'll just wait
Because we
for the
do.
next
We've got
one.
buyers that we've been looking at for 2 years, and it's like we're looking at every single thing, and nothing is fitting.
Right. Yep. I talked about this at our meeting this morning, the 80-10-10. We talked about this.
Yeah.
I'm sure talked about it before. So if you're looking for a house, if 80% you love it, it's great. It fits checks most of your boxes, it does whatever. 10% you can fix or remodel, make the way you want, and the other 10% you're just gonna have to deal with.
It's not in Hawaii on the coast.
Yeah, it's just no house is gonna be perfect. Even if you build, you're still gonna have stuff that you wish you'd done different or whatever. So
that's when you have to be headstrong and picky about the things that matter the most to you. What are your deal breakers? I don't want 27 things that you want in a house, because you're never gonna find it. You can't even build it for that. But give me the top 3 or 4 things. Like, I have to have a yard, I have to have a basement, I have to have a garage, whatever those things are.
Yep. I just did that in Findlay, showing a guy a house, and he had certain criteria, same thing, wanted no floodplain, single story, several things. And there was 6,
they
but
keep
only
adding
3.
And adding.
But there was only 3 available. So I felt like I was on HGTV. I'm like, all right, here it is. We looked at the 3. Which one is it? And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I love any of them. Well, that's it.
That's it.
If it's a criteria you gave me. This is the 3 that are available. You got to move. So
that's right.
Where are you at then? So yeah, it doesn't happen. I don't know.
Somebody has to sacrifice something.
Right. Yeah. I mean, multiple offers. I mean, I feel like we've still been getting some of those situations. Not a ton, but I mean, there's still some houses that just sit there and do nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was going to say, even in multiple offers, it doesn't seem like prices are really going above the ask price. I mean, it's close. I mean, it might go a little over, but it's definitely not anything I would say significant.
Yeah, to where Columbus for a while was, if you weren't 50,000 over list price, no inspections, cash, you weren't buying anything. So, I mean, our market never got that bad, but so, all right. I don't know. So what's the answer, Shuby?
I don't know. I think
buy now.
Yeah, I think
it's always buy now.
I know that National Association of Realtor articles. I mean, he even the one chief economist said, even a meaningful decline in mortgage rates could help release up a lot of the pent up demand in real estate.
We need that 5 and 5.5%.
But my other side of that, though, too, we've talked about this, like so those million homeowners that are stuck in their house with their 2.5% rate, if rates do go down, I feel like a ton of those are going to come online. You have more listings, but they're going to gobble up whatever inventory is out there. So I don't know how that. I look forward to it. I hope the rates come down, but I just think that's going to bring so many more buyers online again, and the new housing hasn't caught up with anything yet. I feel bad for the home builders that aren't, kind of taking a bath right now or keeping homes. So,
jeez,
I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. So, all right. So you just made me scared, Bryan. Thank you.
No.
Well, it is good to look at those numbers every now and again, and we don't have the answers. All we can do is look at the data and kind of roll with the best of it then. So, all right, Kari, so what can help if we get rid of property taxes?
Right?
Is that going to fix it? What are we doing with that?
The monthly payment.
Right.
Yeah, I've been paying attention to this for about a month now. Obviously, it's been out longer than that, but
I honestly didn't even
have
look
you guys
at it.
heard about?
I
Okay.
have, but I'm just like, I'm not even going to pay attention because there's no way.
No,
But,
I mean,
there's
okay,
no
so
way.
the proposal is that it's going to end property taxes in Ohio. So that's the bill. And if it goes to the November ballot and it's approved by the voters, then property taxes would end on January 1st, 2026. And I don't know. I read a couple different things. I think it kind of said that it'll freeze it back to like the 2022 prices. And another one said that it'll eliminate them altogether. I'm like, well, if you eliminate them altogether, then we've got some serious issues. So.
Yeah.
So they're talking about a possible rollback on the value, which would help because prices did go up a lot since then.
So first off, you have to understand, people think that they're not paying property taxes because they don't physically see a bill. But when you sit down to buy a house, your property taxes are rolled into your loan almost always.
Right.
So people they're like, well, I don't even pay property taxes if they don't know that it's part of their bill.
Right.
So then once you've got your loan paid off, or seniors or whoever, you still have a bill. You're just paying it separately.
Right.
So that's something to understand. And then if your house payment, let's say your house payment is $1,200, modestly. $1,200 is your house payment, and you're paying a portion of that to your taxes. If taxes go up, so does your house payment. So your $1,200 house payment is now $1,400 a month.
Which happened to a lot of people.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. And it got to the point where people are like, I'm on a fixed income. I can only afford, $650 a month. I can't afford this new $900 payment or whatever it was. So understanding that, and then what they do is they take a portion of what your house is worth, and then they estimate that as your property taxes. So when your taxes rises, so does your home house payment. Is there a way to get out of that? Not really. I mean, locally here and other places too, small towns, they'll have things that you can vote on to either pass or fail. So your taxes can either go up or down or stay the same.
You're talking like school levies, things like
levies,
that?
Yeah. Levies, projects, if they do roads, bridges, things like that. And if they don't pass, maybe things stay the same. But so another way that your property taxes could go up, mine could go up, yours guys could stay the same, or vice versa, is if we do a major home renovation on our house. Let's say we add a 3-car attached garage, or we significantly improve our land or remodel the entire house because you're applying for permits generally when you do that.
Sure.
So if you're just painting your kitchen and adding some tile, you're not going to call them and let them know that you remodeled your whole house. But if you're gutting a kitchen, applying for permits, they're going to know you have a brand new kitchen.
Yep.
That could increase the property value, which could then increase your taxes. So that's good to know too if you're planning a major project. But back to the property taxes. So people will argue that if your mortgage is paid off, then you shouldn't pay taxes. But if nobody's paying taxes, then what's happening to the infrastructure? What's happening to
how are you funding
your
everything
community?
then?
How are you funding your police? How are you funding your fire departments? And I know it's different for every, municipality or whatever. They all have kind of their own little programs that fund these things. But if they completely get rid of all of that, what is going to happen? Like, what's going to happen to the schools? What's going to happen to libraries? What's going to happen to the program? Are there going to be rich local people that put their dollars back into the community and businesses? Do they leave that up to the rich to say, we're going to support the local summer reading program, or we're going to support, taking the street sweeper? I don't know what all the taxes pay for. I really don't. But
they fund everything that happens with the city, the county, everything. Yeah.
So down to what program? So, I don't know. My heart goes out to the seniors. My heart goes out to the people who can't. They've worked their whole life. They've paid off their family farms, or they even the small little cottage they have on one of the small streets. They own that property, and to say that it can be taken from them after working all those years and making all those payments because they're missing property taxes, that I feel like should be looked at.
Yeah, there was I wish I would have pulled it up, but I think it was what Ohio senators was going on about that. Like, you truly don't own a home. You don't
never,
own, like,
never.
You say, your name is on the deed, or, you own the property. But if the state can come back and say, or the city, we're taking that property because you didn't pay your taxes. I mean, do you really own it?
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
And you're talking about somebody on Social Security that's, 85, 87 years old, who physically can't work, can't side hustle, can't, they have no means of taking
like you
care
said, they're already
of
in a
this.
fixed income and their taxes go up. They could lose their home.
100%. 100%.
Carrie, you and I just sold a house. A guy was in the same situation, bad situation. He was behind on his taxes and he would have lost his house,
Lost
a
everything.
beautiful big house, and
Lost
would have been
everything.
gone over a couple $1,000 tax bill. So yeah, do you own it? I don't know. That's a tough one. Well, it's currently where it's introduced. You pulled this up here. Introduced in the House. It's in House committee. Nowhere close to being passed by the House, and it would have to go through Senate and
Yeah, it
then
has
make
to go-
it to the governor's desk. So.
Yeah.
I guess, well, the question for me is, what do they replace it with then?
Well,
because those tax
that's it.
dollars, politicians don't know how to fine, we won't take these tax dollars, we'll cut our budget elsewhere. Yeah, right, they're going to need that money somehow.
And if you travel and you go into nice cities that have very high property I don't want to live there. Their property taxes are out of control. But look at their infrastructure.
Yeah.
Look at their landscaping. Look at their
Right.
police and their fire departments and their schools and their parks. I mean, taxes, you can love them or you can hate them. But if you're in a place where you have zero to no taxes or low taxes, you probably have higher crime. The median is probably not mowed regularly like it should be.
Sure.
There's all kinds of incentives that come from, and I'm not like pro tax, but at the same time, what's the give and take there?
What's that look like? And I'm sure that's
Yeah.
a million things. It's probably all the things with that. Could they cut something else or make
Probably
it work? And we're not
they
trying to get
could.
political about anything,
Yeah.
but yeah, I love the idea of, if maybe, like you said, maybe once you pay your house off,
Yeah.
you don't pay
Yeah.
property
Then
taxes.
what do you
that would
do
be
then? Somebody comes in and they're an investor and they buy everything in cash. Everything's paid
Right.
off. Are they not paying
then
taxes?
they're not paying taxes.
'Cause
Yeah.
I don't know where the great divide is, and I think that's a political battle, and also like a roundtable discussion is like, how do you help the ones that really need help and the ones that can afford to help those people? Like, everybody has tight pocketbooks or tight pocket strings, but when it comes down to helping your great grandparents or somebody who's disabled or somebody who's truly in a position where they cannot help themselves, where does that money come from?
Mm-hmm.
The great divide. I
Right.
don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what
I got
this is.
way off
Yeah,
topic there, but like,
I love the thought. I do. I love the process. I honestly just haven't paid attention because I just don't think it's going to go anywhere.
I don't. No, I don't.
I can't see a politician saying, we'll take half the money we're used to working
no
with.
taxes. I know, because it's already a struggle, and they're already like, we need more.
Right.
Where does the more come from?
Well, we could sit here and read this whole bill if that helps. Then
Let's
Sarah,
start.
you want to kick
Page
that off
1.
here? Yeah,
You're
actually,
gonna
it's
need
pretty
some
short.
coffee and
So
some energy
this must
drinks.
be. It says enacted General Assembly bill. So this cannot be the bill.
No,
this
this
must
is
be
just
a short proposal to it, because they're usually just like
like a million
kill
pages.
a forest and we'll print all this out and put a bunch of pork in it. So, all right, well, interesting. I don't know where that'll go, if anywhere, but it's worth talking about. We'll have to pay attention. I guess we'll talk about that on a later episode when we know something more about it. So
Yeah, because we're going to be a couple of weeks behind, and they've been talking about it for a while, but I'm like, I can get off on a tangent and go sidetrack, but I don't know enough about it to really sit up here. And I mean, I'm not a politician by any stretch of the imagination. Anybody that knows me will know exactly what I'm talking about. But I think it's important for everybody to stay ahead of that and to understand what's happening, be it in our state or any other state.
Is there any other state that's doing? I don't know.
I
I've
think I
just
heard
been paying
Florida
attention to
was
Ohio.
looking at something like that.
Yeah.
Because
So-
Florida doesn't have income tax, right? Or something. Which,
they don't have
we have everything. Income tax, property
Sales
tax,
tax.
like sales
We're
tax.
taxed on everything. Tax
yeah.
when you buy it, tax when you sell it.
Right. Get you every which way. So, okay, cool. Well, that's episode 38. We're trying to do something fun for episode 40. I don't know what yet, but that doesn't mean miss episode 39, though. So make sure you tune in for that. So that'll be next week. Thanks for stopping by.